Hey guys, itaewon Sammy here. Welcome to part two of the good, the bad, and the ugly. No, not the ugly, not the ugly. We're gonna talk about the ugly things in Korea. The things that nobody wants to talk about. But we have to explain it to you. Now, the reason why this is on my channel and not on hers, and we didn't talk about it on hers, is because
I love Korea and he doesn't.
No, I do love Korea. I am so pro Korea. If you watch all of my videos, I'm really pro Korea. But there are certain things that are sensitive.
Yes.
Like you don't talk about Dokdo. Okay?
What is that?
These are some Dokdo, the islands that are claimed by Japan. Dokdo is Korean. Anybody who says anything different is anti-Korean.
And will be burned at the stake.
Yes. You don't talk about the comfort women in a negative way. It's a very sensitive topic.
Don't say anything about Korea.
The comfort women were the women during the Japanese occupation that were used as sex slaves. You don't talk about the East Sea, or the Sea of Japan, as it's called. That's a very sensitive topic. So there are these things that are very sensitive to Koreans in a nationalistic way. There's other issues that are also sensitive, and I don't wish to inflame anyone, or what, is that the right word? Or cause anyone any
trigger. He doesn't want to trigger any of you.
You know, it's not that this is a bad thing about Korea, but it is something that needs to be explained so that people who are not here can avoid doing this. So it's not that I'm blaming Korea or bad-mouthing Korea. I want you to know this so that you don't fall into this and make this mistake or piss anybody off. All right? So we were talking about the last one thing on yours was the bureaucracy.
Yes, a lot of hoops, jumps, and ladders that aren't really there to do anything. It's just like a little checklist for checklist's sake. To make it, okay, one thing is that Korea is all about looks. They don't really care about function as long as it looks good. So having all this red tape makes it look like they're going the extra mile, but it's really just slowing everything down.
Absolutely. So basically, what that means is that Koreans will never say no to you. Okay, in a job function. So for example, I have worked in a Korean company, in a large Korean company, in a hierarchy. It's patriarchal and hierarchy. Because you have to remember, these companies were created 50, 60 years ago. And the only training that these CEOs had was their military training.
Yes.
So they run their businesses like a military. So it's yes sir, no sir, never no sir. It's yes sir, yes sir, yes sir. And if there's bad news, they don't tell anybody. They just leave it on their desk. I have seen a report sit on someone's desk for 6 weeks because it was a negative report. And they will write reports for their senior managers because their senior managers don't know anything because they were promoted based on seniority, not on qualifications.
Oh, yes.
So the senior manager has to report to their senior manager. So the juniors have to write these reports taking away from their jobs. Now, the other thing is that nobody takes responsibility. You're right. So a low-level bureaucrat, say at immigration or customs or at the medical office or tax office or whatever, to fix a simple problem won't do it because it means that they have to take responsibility for fixing that problem, and it falls on their shoulders. You will get the occasional person who will help you. You will. All right?
And along with that, if you go to immigration, don't mouth off to them.
Oh God, no.
Or your application is going to get lost somewhere.
Oh God, no. Oh God, no. Please go. You go in there begging and pleading on your hands and knees and be so kind and polite. All right, that's the number one. So yeah, that's kind of ugly thing. Is the bureaucracy. You'll never be able to wrap your head around it. And you will never get somebody telling you no. So I used to do business in Korea, sales. Nobody ever tells you no. They'll say, oh, I'll think about it, or maybe, which means no. They'll never come out and directly tell you no.
Yeah, and it's because in Korean culture, it's a very face-saving
Face-saving,
culture.
yeah.
So they want to save your face by not directly rejecting you. So it's up for you to figure out that they meant no.
Yeah.
You have to understand their situation,
Yes.
not the other way around.
Not the
You
other
have to
way
understand
around.
them.
Yeah, yeah. So that's that one. What's the other one was here's a good one. Sex. Here comes the sex. As a man, and being in the club, I never dated customers. I never picked up at my own club. That was my number one rule because I didn't want to be known like that. I didn't want a reputation. But because I was popular and infamous, I got to meet a lot of people. I got to date.
Dating the 22-year-olds in the club. Or maybe the 19-year-olds in the club.
I refuse to answer that question on the grounds answer I give may or may not tend to incriminate me. But I was very lucky. I got to date a lot of beautiful women, a lot of intelligent women. And but the problem I ran into was a majority of them would not acknowledge that we were dating. I had one situation where after about a couple of dates, I posted one picture of us at dinner and on my Instagram or my Facebook, and some guy who I casually know, I don't know him well because I have so many people, I have like thousands of people from my club life on my Facebook, texted me and said, "Who is that girl you were with?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's someone I went to dinner with." And he said, "Oh, that's my best friend's girlfriend." Like, what? He's like, starts asking me questions. I said, "Listen, buddy, I don't want to get involved in the middle of this. This is between him and her. Don't get me involved." Not 5 minutes later, I get a text message from her. "What are you doing? Posting pictures?" Blah, 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 blah. I said, "Listen, I asked you if you were dating that guy, and you said no." She said, "Well, he still likes me and he thinks we're dating." I said, "Well, that's a problem between you and him, not me."
And this leads into the next ugly of Korea, is that infidelity is an open secret. So she was caught two-timing, but honestly, two-timing is just kind of a way of life out here. Like, you'll notice that people, particularly the gentlemen, don't wear their wedding rings. Now, people will say that it's cultural, where there is truth in that. It is a Western concept. But, however, each time I come across them, and these married men have no shame. They'll parade me around. They don't care if their wife's sister or cousin or anyone. They'll have me kissing on them and then later casually mention their wife and kid. And I'm like, "Where's your wedding ring?" And each man has a different story, which tells me it's not cultural, or else they would just say it's cultural. So each man had a different story why he didn't have his ring on and why it was no problem to parade him. They don't care if anyone in the club sees them. I think it's because they know their wives aren't going to leave them. Because the stigma of being a single mom is worse than having a cheating
divorce. I can't count how many of my female friends got married and silently divorced 6 weeks later. I have one friend who I know, good friend, and I found out she divorced 6 weeks later. And I'm like, why are you out tonight? I go, "Where's your husband?" She goes, "Oh, we got divorced." I'm like, "What?" "Yeah, he was cheating on me." "Well, why did you have the wedding?" "Well, we had to." "What do you mean?" "Well, we can't cancel the wedding. It would be face shaming."
You cannot break off an engagement because, number one, engagements are huge out here. The pictures and the this and the that is such a big. It would almost be like if you canceled your graduation. Once you announce you're graduating, you can't go back on that. Same thing with weddings.
Like university graduation. Like I don't go to weddings just because of that. Because I know they're not worth anything. And it's just so expensive. The last wedding I went to was my business partner's wedding, and that was $100,000 US for a wedding. It was insane.
That last 1 hour.
It was insane. It was insane. Oh my God. I didn't spend that much on my wedding. I'm divorced in Canada.
He's available, ladies.
Oh, hi. I didn't spend that much on my wedding. Well, no, it was quite expensive. But anyway, sex was just ridiculous in this country. Okay. I'll tell you this much. it is very easy to date in Korea as a man. Even as
both.
it's
Being
much
a
easier.
foreigner.
Being a female is much easier. All right, in any country with any race, but being a South Asian man in Korea, I'll tell you this, it's so easy. And not just, I'm going to be a little delicate here.
If it's ugly, why be delicate?
I have dated some of the most beautiful women I have ever known in my life. And I have traveled all over the world. And even in Canada, in Toronto, when I was running clubs in Canada, I dated some beautiful women. But the stunning women I've dated here is just insane how easy it is. You just have to be charming, speak a little Korean, and have a little money. Well, a little more than a little money. But, you know, it's true. It's so easy. What was the next one? The next one was...
Oh, wait. We're not off that topic.
Oh, we're not?
Yet. No,
Oh,
no.
okay.
So, like how he said, it's very easy to find the opposite gender out here. And it's almost to the point where this low birth rate kind of doesn't make sense. Because there are villages of love motels, like literal villages of love motels that have little noodles to hide who's going in and out so your husband and wife don't see you. And also, people, like, the sex education in Korea is abysmal.
It is.
Almost
non-existent.
To the point where people will say things like, oh, I'm clean because, like, I've never had sex with a foreigner before. Because, like, apparently diseases only come from foreigners. Or some men will say, oh, no, I always take a shower right afterwards. So I washed it all off each time. So, and another ugly thing is that, so a lot of people don't want to use protection because they don't understand that protection protects not only against disease, but against babies. Because in Korea, there's no such thing as having a baby out of wedlock. You can't show your face if you do something like that. So usually that responsibility will always fall onto the woman. Now, very recently, abortion became legalized in Korea. But before then, there were a lot of back alley abortions, coat hanger abortions. Like, people had to do whatever they did.
Well, I'm going to say it's not coat hanger. It was...
I'm exaggerating.
Yeah, it was a very clean medical procedure. You can pay a legal doctor, you know, under the table to do a clean abortion, but it wasn't legal. So I don't want people thinking, you know, like 1980s back alley, you know, veterinarian soprano style. Okay,
so realistically, yeah, you could go to a doctor under the table, or you could order the abortion pill. A lot of people do mail that in, but that would just 100% be seen as a woman's responsibility. Like, the guy would be like, you got pregnant, as if it was a one person.
All right, just you got to look at the scandals, you know, the K-pop scandals and actress scandals that are going on with the text messages and everything like that.
And also, that's just a baby. At least a baby, if you don't want a baby, there are things you could do, but like how I said, protection protects against other things. So there is you might have to, like, scrub this from the video, but there's, like, a huge STD, like, rampage that the government is simply not talking about. That's too shameful. And this especially happened, I saw one English language article about it happening with the Bakhas ladies in Busan. So Bakhas ladies, they are elderly prostitutes who sell Bakhas, which is like an energy drink, but that's just like a
front.
Yeah, it's a front. So there's these elderly prostitutes, and like how I said, no one's using protection. So if one of those ladies gets infected, it's just going to spread like wildfire. So it's going from, like, people in their 60s, 50s, 30s, even dudes in their 20s will use their services, which is like, what's going on? But yeah, because of things like that, because prostitution is very easy, infidelity, very easy, protection non-existent, strap up when you come out here. Don't believe this cute, innocent, no, you will, well, I hope not, but make sure to protect yourself from diseases.
It is a problem. It is a problem.
Police?
Yeah. What people don't realize here is that the police don't arrest or lay charges. The police investigate crime, hand it over to the prosecutor, and the prosecutor decides whether or not to arrest and prosecute the crime. Because Korean, again, it's all about saving face. We got to go back to that, right? Because if I assault you or do anything criminal to you, the police will come to you and ask you if you want to proceed with the case. And then they will suggest that you and I try to resolve our differences financially. And I will offer you blood money to drop the charges. And it's happened to me. I got assaulted, punched at my club by a foreigner. The police arrested him. I got $1,000. I had a small bruise on the back of my head. Luckily, I'm bald, and the police were able to see it. I signed a document saying I'm not going to proceed with the charges. The police withdrew the charges.
And another interesting thing about how, it prosecutes in Korea. So in Korea, the charges will only get laid if the victim chooses to lay charges. So like, let's say I'm out with like my boyfriend and he punches me in front of the cops. If I'm already a battered wife, I'm like, no, don't do it, because I'm scared to snitch on him, because then that's going to be more beatings on me later. So if I don't say like, yes, arrest him, they're not going to get arrested. So people wild out in front of the cops because it's up to the victim if they're going to press charges.
And the police here don't really enforce the laws unless it's blatant. You'll watch traffic laws just blatantly disobeyed. Only recently has a lot of media attention on what the police are doing. There was a case in Busan where 2 police officers attended at a violent assault, and when the person came with a knife, they ran away from the police. The police ran away, and the person, the guy killed 2 people. So there's a huge issue going on with how the police are policing. Okay, the police don't even carry guns here, and the ones that do, the first 3 bullets are blanks.
Yes.
I was I was witness to a situation where the police actually drew the weapon and fired.
But they fired a blank.
Fired 3 blanks.
Okay.
Didn't fire the 4th shot. A car was running away from the police and had hit some things or something like that. I don't remember. It was years ago. Anyway, the next one.
But so related to the police are the self-defense laws in Korea.
Yes, I forgot to mention that. If she attacks me, I cannot defend myself, even in my own home. And I talked about this in one of my videos on just last week. 5 laws that you got to learn here in Korea. One of them is that it is against the law to defend yourself. I have to run away from her. I cannot stand my ground or push her back. If she breaks into my house and I beat her and she has more injuries than me, I go to jail. And there's a famous case of that, of a foreigner who beat somebody who was breaking into his house, and the judge said if you had just closed the door and locked it, you wouldn't have gone to jail. That's what happened.
Mm-hmm. So this can be especially ugly for you ladies out there. So let's say you're in like a crowded subway and some dude is like taking that opportunity to fill you up. If you go around and slap him as he deserves to be slapped, you are going to go down because you caused more damage with that slap than he did by filling you up. And then because of Korea and their blood money system, you would have to actually pay him for filling you up if you don't want to go to jail because you slapped some dude who was filling you up.
Yeah. It's a very, very confusing system, but it's one that you got to live with, unfortunately. You got to learn how to live with these within their laws. We're not citizens. We can't change it. We can complain about it, but we can't change it. They are slowly changing. I've seen changes to the laws, the new stalking law, the harassment law.
Raising the age of consent from 13 to 16.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I still thought it was 13 when I heard about that. The stalking law, the harassment law, the digital media law too, I think came into play.
The real name ID thing?
No, sending unwanted pictures. I think that's new too. I think I read something about that.
Oh, that one had already been in effect, which is why porn is illegal, because porn can cause somebody shame. So that means it was already illegal to send naughty things on the internet.
Anyway, so it's just don't do anything. If you have to think whether it's right or wrong, don't do it.
And even if a local does something to you, you have to let it go.
Yeah.
Because they have the power.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The first thing I learned when I came to Korea is if you're in an argument with a Korean, run away. That's the safest thing I can tell you. Turn around and run as fast as you can. Turn around and run as fast as you can.
So this is actually one good thing about being black in Korea, is that Koreans, along with the rest of the world, are still scared of black people. So nobody even comes to try anything because they're not tempted to see if they'll die messing with me. So that's one thing. Me being black and tall, people just leave me alone regardless.
I've never had an issue. I've been very lucky, I guess, because of where I live, my age,
You had a story on your YouTube that some dude was pushing you in the club, and like you had a gangster friend, and then they're like, "Hey, if you mess with itaewon."
Oh, this was like the first year that I was in Korea. I had no idea what was going on. I was like, I think it was the first 6 months I was in the country. I ended up in a Korean only club with some of my friends, and I'm dancing, and this guy bumps into me 3-4 times. I move out of the way, bumps into me again. I turn around, I look at him, I was like, what's going on? Then my friend came over, talked to the guy. I don't know Korean at this point. Then he points over to my other older Korean friend, and then the guy starts bowing and walking away, like apologizing, because it turns out that my older Korean friend was somewhat of a gangster. I have a video about me and my gangster friends. You guys can check that out. Anyway, the next one was
okay, let me get off the list.
we have a list on the phone, on her phone. It was
so we talked about police and not having rights, bureaucracy,
crime.
Let's see. Visas.
Visas. Oh my goodness. If you think going to America or trying to get into America is hard, it's much harder in Korea. And it's not easy to work in Korea because it's a homogenous society. You walk into any work office, who's the one on the visa? Well, the non-Korean, right? So it's very easy to figure out who is legal and who is not legal. So it's very difficult to work illegally in this country. It's very difficult to enter this country. It's very difficult to get a visa. And one of the worst things that happens is that the government changes the goalposts.
All the time.
Oh, to make it harder and harder and harder. The owner of... All right, I'm not going to say... Anyway. Well, I will say, because this is the ugly. I know owners of businesses who have packed up and left Korea pre-COVID because of the uncertainty of their visas. They are making the country millions of dollars in revenue, in payroll, in taxes. Millions of US dollars in value, and they still cannot guarantee their status in the country. They're always, every year, having to jump through hoops. The recent changes to the point system have made it almost impossible for teachers to gain long-term visas. And people who had business visas have also seen their potential to stay erased.
Well, it was if you had an F27 with a business, they changed it where you couldn't use that business income to qualify for points for the income that you needed to renew that F2 visa.
So how are you supposed to earn a living? It's just, it doesn't make sense.
Which is why I'm on a special business visa that I offer consultations on.
Yes.
Information in the description box below. 50% off until Valentine's Day.
I'll post that discount code for you guys, and the link is one of the things that I'm actually going to get some of my friends to check out on, because they're really looking to stay in Korea and develop a life here, so they need that help. Anyway, it's so difficult, and that's one of the reasons why I'm leaving. Is just I'm tired of. I'm very lucky that I have permanent residence, but it's still not guaranteed, and a lot of the hoops that I got to jump through on other things like taxes and income and status and everything like that just drives me insane. So yeah,
Like how we said on my video, there is a lot of corruption in Korea though. So when in Rome, not incriminating ourselves, but I'm just saying, if you want to know ways to get around it a little bit, book a consultation.
there's always legal loopholes, okay? I mean, it's not illegal. It's just you got to discover that loophole. You know, people always complain about the rich people not paying taxes. Well, why do you think they don't pay taxes? Because are they criminals? No, they pay attorneys millions of dollars to figure out how to use the loopholes. We can't do that because we're not rich enough. Anyway.
And a lot of people are honestly too scared
Yeah.
to even look or try the
Yeah.
loopholes.
Oh, I'm in a couple of loopholes. I love it. I love it because I don't want to pay. I paid enough taxes already in my lifetime. I'm old. All right, the other one.
I think we did everything on the list.
We
Sex,
did?
red tape, bureaucracy. Yeah, I mean, are there any other pressing things that are
You know,
bad?
the one thing about, and it all comes down back to saving face, is that you're never going to get a Korean to tell you the truth to your face.
They would rather just ghost you altogether
Yes.
than do that.
Yes. They will never what's the word? They don't have the strength or the courage to do it. They would rather run away from that situation. I find that really frustrating. Except for your close friends. Your close friends, that's not a problem. I'm talking about casual acquaintances, business associates, people who you think are friends. Yeah, no.
Yeah, so in the West, our confrontation style is to meet it head on. But in the East, you want to dance around it because people just don't want the confrontation. They're just like, why do we even have to? Let's just not. Versus in the West, we're like, get it done now so it can be over with.
Yes,
and then
we can move on. Exactly. Anyway, so yeah, that was pretty good. That was the good, the bad on her channel,
Yes.
and the link is down below. Please hop over to her channel, subscribe, learn how you can get a pretty good visa to stay here in Korea, and almost anyone can do it.
And if you can come over here as a teacher, if you can come over here as a student, you can open a business. Like I'm the CEO of a software company. I don't even know how to code.
So check out her story. Pop on over to her channel. I'm going to put the link down below to her latest video about this, and you can learn about it. It's what fascinates me, and it's why I'm doing a collab video with her. And I want to thank everybody for liking, commenting, sharing, commenting. That's the most fun. This is why we're doing this, is because she commented, and then I followed
Show your
her.
support.
We love it. I truly appreciate everyone. I want to thank everyone who has followed me in Korea. This is probably the last Korean video you're going to see, because starting after this one, it's going to be all Sri Lanka videos, retirement, living life, not letting life live you. This is Itaewon Sammy with
Hot Choco.
saying, we're out!
Bye.